Hi, Larry Stewart here with ForConstructionPros.com and in Madras, Oregon at the Daimler Test High Desert Proving Ground. And I want you to meet Sam Parlier, who's Vice President of Vocational Market Development for Daimler. We're here talking about the 49X, a whole new, brand new vocational market truck for Daimler. Sam, I know there's a million things you want to tell us about this truck. What are the high points? What are the things that are really going to stand out for construction customers with this truck?
Interesting thing, Larry, about the use of the term construction customers is it spans a massive range. You have construction customers that are smaller, more like a landscape customer, and they need larger trucks for certain applications. And then you have full-on construction people that are building the infrastructure of the nation, and they need trucks. So the thing about the 49X that makes it special and unique is we took a look at all of those needs and built a new product from the ground up that can fulfill any of them. So I know you said there are a million, there's probably a million and one things, but number one, the biggest focus for a construction customer is it's got to be able to do the work it needs to do. It's of no value to build a truck that can't haul the right heavy equipment. You can't haul your dozer to the site. What good is it? You can't put water in your water tank. What good is it? So we worked really early on to ensure clear back of cab. So you can get an entire clear back of cab. So fuel, DEF, left hand under, DPF SCR, right hand under, and the batteries in the cab. So no matter what you have to put on the back of it, it'll fit.
You must have some interesting frame configurations for a truck that's designed to suit all these different needs.
Yeah, I would probably say interesting frame challenges, because in general you have so many different body types, even in just the construction industry. When you think about a heavy hauler that's going to tow around a lowboy or your everyday dump truck, there's no such thing as an everyday dump truck. You have dump trucks like a super dump. It's got 3 axles in between and usually a strong arm in the back. That's a completely different frame layout from your regular dump truck with a single front and tandem rear. So what we did was we looked at how can we arrange the frame in such a way that it's easy to move components around no matter what kind of dump truck you're building. And we actually created a system that's available to our dealers that we call Clear Frame Space. And a dealer can actually order clear frame space on this truck that then gets put on it all the way through production. So when the truck shows up, if they said, hey, I need this area clear for a hydraulic tank or a lift axle that I'm going to install or the lift axle we're installing, it shows up as a part on the truck all the way through the plant. So it's clear, it shows up, and up you go with your upfit.
I see. And that's new for this truck?
It is new for this truck.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It was developed in conjunction with some of the harder parts that we, like the real hardware parts that we developed. We also developed some software tools to help along with the upfit.
Well, another thing, a really significant thing that was developed with this truck was a transmission, right?
Yes.
For severe service. Yes,
the DT12 vocational transmission by Detroit was developed in conjunction with this product. We actually have 2. We have the vocational transmission and the vocational extreme for different applications. The vocational extreme is an excellent heavy haul tractor. So anything that you're going to haul behind a lowboy, it's got great gearing, so it'll help you get started with that load and get going. And it's also got modes like off-road mode, which really holds your shift longer so you don't lose that momentum. Nobody ever wants to lose momentum on a construction site. Yeah. It also has rock-free mode, which is where if you do happen to get stuck, it will feather the clutch in and out so that you can get traction and gain momentum. So way back when you learned how to maybe drive in the snow with a stick shift and you had to first reverse, then get yourself rocking to get out, the transmission helps you do that just by depressing and releasing the throttle pedal.
Yeah, I got a little experience with that. You get a sense for, the tie between the clutch and the throttle, and you really can't feel. When you need power, it'll deliver power for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting stuff. It just seems like that setup is perfect, like you said, for holding momentum on project sites. That off-road mode really seems like a valuable tool.
The other thing it does, speaking of holding momentum, is if you're climbing out of a grade, so out of a pit, into a pit, going up or down, and you stop, it has what we call hill hold function. So it holds the truck when you take your foot off of the brake pedal. You get 3 seconds before it'll give you a warning and 5 seconds before it releases to say, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to move? Do you not want to move? So no longer do you have to try and figure out how to left foot brake, get your right foot over the throttle. You actually hold, doesn't move either way, forwards or backwards.
Right, and if you wait, it'll actually start moving on its own, right?
It'll tell you. It'll beep. Yeah, it'll give you a warning so you're not surprised, and then it will release because it's the intention. Sometimes you do want to roll, so it's not going to stop you forever. It just gives you that little bit of confidence to either take off again or to start rolling if you want to do that.
And you get that in forward or reverse.
Correct.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting feature involved in that. Yeah, the electronic features really play big in this whole line. The safety features that we've seen demonstrated. Talk a little bit about what this truck is capable of on the road to keep drivers safe and to make sure that, in this distracted age, that people aren't running into each other out there.
Absolutely. Well, we made sure to engineer our full suite of Detroit safety systems into this vehicle. So in the past, Western Star didn't always have that. As safety systems advance, it requires significant electronics in the background to make it work. So this truck is the latest and greatest electronics from Daimler Trucks North America. And what you get is Detroit Assurance, which will provide you adaptive cruise, ACC, adaptive cruise control. So when you're driving behind someone, it will read that car and keep you at a safe following distance. You can actually set that time, how many seconds you want to follow behind. So for a truck that's hauling heavy equipment, they want to have a longer following distance. They're heavier. For trucks that are maybe running empty, they don't quite need such a significant distance. The customer can control that themselves. Mm-hmm. The other very cool part of the ACC feature is that we have cruise down to 0. Right. So if you set in cruise control, if you set your cruise, you can be in traffic and follow that traffic and stop and go. And it just takes that much stress off of the driver. They can look around, they can watch what's happening. The people that you speak of that may or may not be as good of drivers as we like to think we are, they can concentrate on what's on around them rather than stop, go, stop, go. So that's one of the features. There's also advanced braking. So a collision mitigation. If somebody does in fact cut off a truck, which happens unfortunately all too often, it will apply the brakes and the foundation brakes and do emergency stopping. It also has pedestrian detection, one of the only trucks to have pedestrian detection. If somebody walks out in front of the vehicle, it will apply the brakes. And then there's side guard assist, which when somebody walks next to the truck or there's an object next to the truck in the A-pillar, it lights up a light to say, hey, something's here. So great in that city traffic environment when you're trying to change lanes. Sometimes when you're driving a truck, people don't want to let you in and they'll swerve around you and they'll get into those blind spots. The visibility in this product is fantastic, but those automobile drivers can make it hard no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, motorcycles and bicycles and all that kind of thing. The radar on the side of this thing is watching right inside of the truck. And so anything that gets over there, you get that light and an audible warning if you go to move into that.
Yeah, you put your blinker on and you start to move and it'll audible so that you know. The light's great, and then the audible, if you indicate to the truck you're trying to move, it'll give you the audible and tell you to stop.
And I think it's really interesting. I mean, people have heard about these kind of features and we sort of see them on cars and that sort of thing. I think the important thing to point out here is this is like one of the first applications for these kinds of technologies on specifically a vocational design truck.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you've got a fleet of ready-mix trucks or, you know what the problems are in terms of liability and risk out there on the road. And, this has got technology on that can really kind of help you overcome those things.
Absolutely. And all too often we're asking too much of our drivers. As cities are getting busier, traffic is increasing. Putting it all on a driver who is your best defense, and a safe driver is better than any system you could ever have, but giving them that support and security is important.
It's equipped with cameras that help you with things like lane departure warning. So you've got all that assistance as well as the capacity to record incidents and things like that if you need to for managing driver training and dealing with risk and that sort of thing. What other things do you think really set this truck apart?
Well, let's change some gears. Use a little truck pun there. Let's shift a gear or two. One of the things that we did early on was we looked at all the different body types, and something that's really unique about this product is what we call the trench style low roof. So the center section of this roof is scalloped out. And the reason we did that is thinking about overhead equipment, right? So even on a dump truck, which is probably one of the more simple vocational trucks, it has a cab guard that comes out over the truck. You want to give more headroom to the operator. You want to give a bigger door opening. You want to be able to get in and out easily with your hard hat on without having to kind of dive into the cab and into the seat. So we wanted to keep that door opening as big as possible, but we also knew that hoppers, different structures that vocational customers go into to load, have been around for 50 or 100 years. Yeah. We couldn't just make the truck bigger. It wouldn't work in some cities, it wouldn't work in some areas. So the way we got around that was we kept the sides larger. So you have more headroom for the driver. You have that big door opening. And then you have a little bit of a scallop out in the center. So when you have your horns and your lights, they can sit down into that spot and you can keep your cab guard low. So we actually kept that center section. It's an inch lower than our predecessor 4900, so that we were really attuned to that. So things like cranes, stick boom cranes, where you have a crane come over the top, you don't have to worry about your height.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And also with the access and egress part of this thing is that there's a whole new air filtration system that kind of approaches level of the aftermarket exterior cans, so that you get big wide door opening space with these trucks.
Yeah, 70-degree door opening, which you do one with the removal of a big can, but we kept the style there, this air intake light that lights up along with this stainless steel all metal outside piece. So this is actually all metal. It's not gonna chip. It's not gonna have chrome flaking off of it. We kept style there, but we also kept performance with the underhood air filtration. It's also available with pre-cleaners, which basically centrifugally spin the dust out of the air so that you don't have to worry in dusty environments about losing power.
Right, but it's all under the hood.
But it's all under the hood.
Yeah.
And low under the hood, it's an interesting challenge because you want to package like as much cooling as you can, as much air filtration as you can, while maintaining best-in-class visibility. Because back to safety again, not the same kind of safety we were talking about earlier, but you need to be able to see what's around you. If you can't see it, the likelihood that you're going to hit it goes way up. So you'll notice it's got an aggressively sloped hood. It's actually best-in-class visibility from the driver's seat. And the way we did it was a combination of the air intake reduction, the door-mounted mirror, as well as lowering the radiator and cooling package in the frame so that you get this great sloped hood, maximizes your visibility.
Well, and when you were talking about the hood, you made the point earlier that one of the big durability points of this truck is really kind of demonstrated in the way you're mounting the hood on this truck. That's a whole different kind of a story, right?
It is. It's one of my personal favorites, and the reason why I like it so much, it really shows Daimler Truck North America ground up intention with designing this truck. We really wanted to make the best vocational truck. And in order to do that, we created what's called the Isotech hood suspension, which is a spring-mounted system that mounts the hood to the frame. So when you're driving, the axle is mounted on a suspension to the frame, but typically hoods are always kind of mounted with a bushing system. And what happens is the frame moves, the axle moves, the input goes into the frame. That hood takes all of it. What you ended up having is either having to design a stiffer hood, a hood with a lot more weight in it to take that, but they almost always end up cracking around the headlights or around this kind of fender to hood junction. So that Isotech actually is a suspension just for the hood to keep it off of the rail. So what you get is you get mounting points here at the cab and the soft riding suspension at the front that isolates it from the rail. And we could tune that suspension. And our engineers spent a long time tuning the suspension both from high and low frequencies to force the inputs into an area where this material, the DCPD hood, could really take it. So durability went through the roof, weight savings went through the roof, and an added benefit is when you drive it, you don't see a lot of movement to the cab and it relaxes the driver. You don't get this odd input into your brain of the stress of this hood moving all the time. It's a great truck to drive for that reason.
Yeah, I imagine most people don't even notice what the stress that comes from that hood moving around in front of them, but I imagine it's there.
It adds to it. It's something you're not necessarily conscious of, but your subconscious sees it moving the entire time you're driving. And we found with our test truck drivers and our customers that had early test units, they were more energized at the end of the day, and it was a big part of it was keeping the cab quiet, keeping the cab stable, and keeping the driver's eyes from getting that distraction of movement at the corners.
Right, yeah, always kind of at the periphery of your vision if you're out looking at the job site, but there's that movement. I imagine your brain's constantly processing, what the heck is that?
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah.
It's one of my, as I said, one of my favorites. I'm passionate about the Isotech hood suspension. And, and I like that it really revolutionized kind of the whole experience from durability to driver fatigue and comfort all the way around.
Yeah, and you mentioned too the material. This hood, it's a poly material, so it's got some flex to it and some durability with that flex.
Absolutely, it's great for resistance to things like that you see on a job site all the time, rock chips, tree branches. It bends instead of breaks, so it's got that flexibility, but it's got the rigidity to hold up.
What else should we make sure that nobody misses on this truck?
The headlights, we haven't talked about the headlights. They're right behind your elbow, but they're dual stage actually headlights, which means they work in two formats. They have a heating element printed on the back side of the headlight material. So if you were to run your hand over it, you don't feel anything from that heating element. It's all on the inside. And it's automatic. It'll turn on in cold temperatures. It'll defrost that iced over headlight. It'll melt 3 millimeters of ice in minus 40 degree weather in 10 minutes, which is really impressive.
Really?
More impressive.
Standing still? Or
Standing still.
Okay, yeah.
It'll melt, but as you drive, you won't get any snow and ice buildup and you won't get any fogging. So a lot of people will say, well, hey, wait, if I operate in the southern United States, I don't need a heated lens. Well, they're LED headlights. And LED headlights, their engines don't generate as much heat, which is kind of funny. It's called the light engine. There's no actual engine in there, but they don't generate heat. So you oftentimes get the reverse condensation where you get in warm climates, you get condensation on the inside. And this will actually take care of that condensation as well as keep you from building up snow and ice in the winter. So that's why we call it dual stage. It works in both environments.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's why it's standard on our product. It works everywhere.
That's amazing. I never considered that, but sure enough, it's like that condensation you get on the inside of the airplane window.
Exactly.
You always think, why is that in there?
Why is that in there?
Yeah.
So it's a great feature no matter who is operating the vehicle. The other thing we haven't really touched on too much, we did a little bit with the frame layout, is body upfit and all of the different tools we developed in order to make that easier. We have our QuickFit System, which is different connectors, different control modules to make it easier for a bodybuilder to basically plug and play. So the QuickFit System also enables you to do things like interlocking. And an interlock is really basic, but requires a lot of electronic systems to make it work. So a good example would be if you have a stick boom crane and you've got outriggers and you don't want to be allowed to move the boom unless the outriggers are out and set. You can get a signal that says outriggers out and set, and you won't turn the PTO on, nothing will happen until those outriggers are set. So it's kind of a fail-safe, if you will, for the operator. This electrical system, the QuickFit system, makes all of that possible.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many applications like that. I can't believe you guys are able to keep up with all that stuff. I really appreciate your time. It's been really exciting to see this all-new truck from the ground up, and I wish you the best of luck with it. Thanks so much, Sam.